Scheduling conflicts fixed, or is this all a masquerade? Are we live or are we not live, Ryan? See, that's the question. Nobody really knows because we can choose just not to answer any comments, and nobody knows if we're live or if this is recorded at nighttime with the lights in the studio. You know what I'm saying?
Or even recorded last year, you just never know.
Bingo,
You never
bingo,
know.
bingo.
Like, this
Because I don't have
is
any hair, so maybe
very.
that was when it was recorded. You never know. You never know. How are you, my man?
I am great, my friend. I've been watching these episodes this week, and it's been awesome to kind of have these themes, and I think we're having so much fun with it. I've been doing pretty well myself on my end here, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited to be here and participate and be part of the what do we call ourselves, the Juice Box crew again. Like the little
Oh, I
Capri
love that.
Suns.
You know what? The sip sacks. Did you when you were younger? Did you have sip sacks?
No, we talked about this though on Sales Chatter one day. We
Ah,
talked. I think it was on a
ah,
Friday. You talked about it, and I was like, "What?" It was just like a bag
yeah,
of juice,
just like a bag
and
of
it popped.
sugar, and it was awesome, awesome. Probably gave me diabetes later on in life. Now that I think about it, but anyways, it was. Hey, you know what? I think all of those things that are good for you aren't really good for you in the end. But who cares? You know what? Today, Ryan is going to be. I think it's really going to be an eye opener for everyone because we're talking about partnerships and we've had Tyler was on yesterday with Data Day, and then we're talking these we're having these amazing conversations about what a partnership is, the two-way street and all this kind of stuff, and then we get into the mindset of it. And I mean, I haven't seen your video yet, but I went over my video again last night, and I'm like, wow, have we ever thought through these points
Mm.
before getting into a partnership? And you and I just happened to have a conversation yesterday about partnerships, and I was explaining to you about the partnership that I had when I started a brokerage company, and how partnerships evolve and change when different things come into play.
Yeah.
And really choosing the right partners is key, is so key. I mean, there's got to be that aligned vision. And I don't want to go any further on it because I know that we got some killer videos for y'all today, and we're gonna get going. What do you say? Go now?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, actually, no. I want to touch on that because I think it is a quick
Oh,
point on that. Yeah,
perfect. Go.
let's keep this going.
Yeah.
So I love exactly what you said about evolving partnerships because I'm a big sports guys, and shout out to the Denver Nuggets, shout out to the Las Vegas Knights, all winning Stanley Cup and the NBA championship. And Dan, in basketball and every single sport. So let's talk about this right now. You have every team, they have their star player. Right. So let's relate this
Hmm.
back to the Toronto Raptors because you mentioned Vince Carter's story quite a bit. So Vince Carter was the star of the team, star face of the franchise. He was the guy, right? And then what happens is with time ages, you become slower. You're not, maybe you want to play for a different team. So the
Hmm.
Raptors, they drafted Chris Bosh with the fourth pick in that draft with LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony. And so you start planning for the future as well. And you talk about partnerships because you have to realize like that person's not going to be there for the duration of the whole career, unless you're the owner or something like that. If we're talking like business owners, but you have to have that succession plan. And I think it's just really important what you just said about, like you've built something and then, you look at Vince Carter, it was like, okay, well, he went off to a different team and then Chris Bosh gets groomed to be the guy. And
Yeah.
then you just look at all the parallels that sports has, like even with Chicago Bulls, when Michael Jordan decided he wanted to retire, they had no succession plan. Like Scottie Pippen was the guy for maybe 1 or 2 years, and he was amazing. He's probably one of the most underrated players, but they didn't have a plan to like have that person go in there and be that true partnership. So you got to kind of, as you're the star player, you kind of train the team. You kind of know if you're going to be a rebuilding team or if you're going to be competitive to go for a championship. If not, then you got to retool and then trade away those players as they become stars. Then you make a new star. then you trade away that player, then you make a new star. So I think it's really important that you kind of just said that.
Well, you go right up to the ownership, and the ownership, it works the same way on that level. It's the partnerships you have with the players that build the team that win the championship, right? Like you, and one thing that was said this year, when the Leafs lost, like got swept in the second round, the announcer said, "Well, you will never see the same team again." Because people will come and go, and they'll look at it and they'll say, okay, you know what, in order for us to succeed, we surround ourselves, and we're talking ownership, right? Because you guys own your business. Whether you work for a company, it doesn't matter. You own your business inside that company, and you surround yourself, your suppliers, your ops team, your friends, your colleagues, like everything. You surround yourself with those people that are going to help you win. And as you grow, and this is true in every part of life, as you grow, some people drop off because friends don't like that you're succeeding and they're not, so they tend to drop off. And it's a really sad thing about being, successful in business. Yeah. But colleagues, some of them will drop off because they're not equipped to handle that level of business. But what you do is you add more people. And that's the mindset part of it. You know, the Chicago Bulls, when Jordan retired, they didn't have they never assumed Jordan would retire when he retired. So they never had the mindset to really change over. You look at Chicago Blackhawks, same thing. As their players aged, and Kane and Taves and all these people couldn't do what they did, they had no succession plan. So they fell. I mean, you know, the Blackhawks were on top of the NHL for ages. Like long time. Pittsburgh Penguins, the old school Montreal Canadiens, like all of it. It's about that succession plan. And it really, Ryan, one thing that I love about today is it's about the retooling or the rethinking relationships every quarter, every month. Like I have some business now where I'm rethinking relationships almost every day because the needs of the customer changes. And I'm like, okay, well, then this relationship is good for what they're doing, but they're not good to grow. This relationship is good to grow. So you have the solid base, and then you have the growth opportunity. And that might not always be the same relationship. You know what I mean? It might be different relationships that help that grow, right? You look at your spouse. When in a marriage, you grow together. If one person grows and one person doesn't, that creates disconnect. You know, like it's the way it evolves in a partnership / relationships. And I don't think you can talk partnerships without talking relationships, and you can't talk relationships without talking partnerships.
No, they're both, for me, I would say they're both the same word. You know, they both represent exactly the same thing, you know, whether it be you have that visceral feeling in your stomach thinking about, hey, this person's not growing with me. So, you know what, let's get into our clips today. Do you want to hit the intro video, or we're kind of past that? You know, you were supposed to hit that in the 2 minutes.
I know, but you know what? We'll go.
All right.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
I don't know if you noticed, buddy, but I did actually forget to hit the intro video on Monday.
Oh, you did?
I was like, I was like, oh my God, the show.
Oh, man. Did we go down a couple star ratings because of that?
Sorry, Tuesday. Monday, we did our show late in the afternoon.
Yes.
But Tuesday, it was like, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden at the end of the show, I'm like, I didn't even hit the intro video with Bill. That was interesting. I was like, okay, well, you know what? Great man. Great guy, Bill. Shout out to you, man. It was a great conversation. Love his perspective on relationships. And obviously yesterday we had the Cowboy on with Diener, and we had Tyler Sutherland, an old friend of mine from when he first got into business. And you know what? I loved the conversation yesterday because I knew data had a big part in relationships, especially when you're bringing data to your customer. But when you bring data to your suppliers And the way Dean was talking about it, I was like, oh my gosh, like I never knew how valuable. Sorry, let me rephrase it. I knew data was valuable, but it's after yesterday, it's like indispensable. Like you have to have it, and
Yeah.
you have to you have to collect it in a very specific manner. And I like one thing that Dean said. He says, you know, people say, Dean, you make it look so easy. And he's like, you don't see what I do to prepare,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
Dean has us as partners in his show. And to prepare for our show takes time. Like, I think a lot of people think you and I just kind of hit a button. And
No.
there's not hours of strategy behind a 30-minute show. There's not hours of strategy behind the week, behind the month, behind the years.
Yeah.
And it's like we have to plan for everything. We plan for when guests don't show up. We plan like there's all these variables that we can't control,
Yeah.
except we're always in control.
Yes.
Because in the end, it's us that hit live. And how are we going to help our audience be better salespeople? Right.
And I think to just be better people too, and just in general. And I think,
Yeah.
you know, for people need to understand that as well. You know, for us, like we don't just kind of hit live, show up at like whatever, like a 10:57, and just I would love to do that, but you know, there's just so much preparation that goes on. And just a quick story before we get into our clips here. It's funny that you said that because one of the episodes that I did for my show, the Logistics Monk Show on YouTube, the guest actually reached out to me this week and was like, I'm really impressed by the way that you did your research, the way that you did your social clips. I'm just really impressed by the way that you did something. I would actually like to offer you a freelance job within my company, basically to handle like communications and like do podcasts with different people in here. So it's something I've been thinking about, but it's just like, you know, when you make it look easy, you know, and coming back to the sports analogy again, Dan, like, you know, if you ever go to a basketball game or you go to a hockey game or a football game, anytime you watch Tom Brady on the field, he makes it look so easy. Peyton Manning had that uncanny ability to make it look so easy. But you got to remember, people are prepping. You know, you prep all those days. You prep from what, Monday to Saturday to literally play for 2 hours on Sunday. You know, we always talk about the Usain Bolt stuff, you know, the Summer Olympics, Winter Olympics, all these athletes, you know, they train 4 years to run like 30 seconds, you know. So I think it's just really important that you make it look easy. And then that's how you can kind of scale as well, right?
Yeah.
People at the beginning, like you and I, when we first started this thing, they're not going to ask, hey, how do you start a podcast? Right. But maybe now people might be reaching out like, hey, you guys make it look so easy. How do you start a podcast? And, you know, nothing.
I've helped a lot of people start podcasts because
even mine included.
They're like, yeah, they're like, oh my gosh, like look how, I mean, like how do you, and it's almost second nature for us now.
Yeah.
Like, so how nervous were you when that camera first turned on?
Oh man, it was brutal. Like I tell this to Jeff quite a bit anytime we kind of have a conversation. I was like, remember the times like it was me and him and it was so cringe, you know, like the camera was like, now I have a nice setup and stuff, but I still keep those videos to like keep me I watch those videos to keep me humble a little bit. But I'm like, the camera wasn't there, the mic wasn't working properly, just being nervous about, hey, am I gonna screw up? And you know, I think that's one of the biggest abilities, like, because you know, you and I, we are both testaments to that. For me, I know that I say things like I say things like I use crutch words a lot. So what did I do about that, Dan? I went and joined my local Toastmasters club. And I don't think that I've stopped it completely, but I know I'm more aware of it. And I think being aware of it as well. So I know we're kind of chatting because
you're a much better speaker. You articulate a lot better. You have the words now that flow into what you want to say, as opposed to some people who like beat around the bush for 5 minutes to get to the point. And I sometimes do it.
No, geographicality.
Buddy, that is one of the best words that's ever come out of this show. Geographicality. And I used it yesterday on Data Day, but
you did? And you didn't get booed?
No. Everybody just kept going. So it's like it's normal now.
I love that. All right, bro, let's get into our clips, man. I think that's what everybody's kind of here for. And this is Personal Development Thursday. If you're brand new here, what we do is that we show 2 clips and then we kind of talk about them, how they can be part of your personal development. And we keep it a little bit easy here. So, Dano, what do you want to do? I'll let you pick 1 or 2. You pick a number.
Let's go 1.
1? Okay, 1 is your video. There we go.
We're going to do 6 tips in 60 seconds on how to grow your business through partnerships. Coming up next. Tip number 1 is to first decide what kind of partnership works best for you, whether that's reseller, white label, affiliate, or strategic. Tip number 2 is to align with a local business that services the same customers that you do without any type of product or service overlap. Tip number 3 is to consider a value-add partnership, such as a realtor and a moving company, or an auto shop and a car dealer. Tip number 4 is to offer your services as a reseller opportunity for another person or company, such as a maid service that resells your handyman opportunities. Tip number 5 is to white label your services, so other companies can take advantage of the service that you offer and offer it themselves. And tip number 6, remember that partnerships should benefit everybody, especially the customer. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please go to youtube.com/marketing360 and watch our full webinar on this topic. I want to thank you so much for watching, and happy marketing.
Okay, so I want to post-face this a little bit. So obviously, this was more of a marketing tip, but to kind of transition that to logistics is very, very simple. So
Easy.
For every one of you, when you're looking for tips and strategies and tricks, it's not always in the logistics world, which is why I picked this clip specifically. You can glean so many really cool things and ideas and strategies from other markets, especially the marketing world, because marketing is sales. Without marketing, you don't have sales. And I believe you should be a marketer before a salesperson, because that truly will help you grow to a multi-million-dollar business. So number 1, he talks about, finding the right partnership. So what partnerships for you work best at this point in time in your business, right? So Ryan, I look at this from multiple faucets, okay? We talk about going out, getting 5 to 10 of your best carriers and selling for them. That's a partnership. But how do you service that business? You need the great partnerships inside your operations team in order to service it. So at your point in your business, and this is an evolving strategy. This isn't a one strategy and you work this for the next 3 years. At this point in your business, do you have a really solid operations team? Now it's time to go after those 5 to 10 carriers. If you don't have a solid operations team, maybe it's not time to go after those 5, 10 carriers. You need to find the partnership of a solid operations team in order to manage the business when you get it. So that's where what partnerships work best. Is it a partnership with a customer? Because if you don't have the business, you have no freight to run, you're not going to serve any suppliers. You're like, right? Is it a partnership with your CRM? Do you need to find a new tool that's going to help you up that, AKA Bridger, that's going to help you up that output, that value? So where is your need right now in your business? Number 2, align with suppliers in a similar business. Now, he talks about, no overlap in customers and stuff like that. That's important. And in logistics, if a carrier is in with ABC company and you go, hey, I got 5 loads a day from ABC company, they're going to be like, well, I'm already doing business with ABC company. But what about a similar business? Ryan, you talk about doing a lot of construction material and a lot of roofing products. What if this supplier already does shingles? So they understand the process of shingles. They understand how shingles, how they need to be strapped, how the corners need to be done in a specific way so they don't bend the shingles in that side of the packet. Like if you're doing machinery, this company might do machinery. And I know when I was doing a lot of work for Bruce Power Station, it was like you had to strap it in very specific locations or else it would damage the entire $6 million generator. So that's the similar business. Value add, obviously, help fulfill immediate needs with every partnership, right? Number 3. Number 4, when he talks about, white labeling and this, that I look as referrals, right?
Yeah.
Right. I'm sitting there saying, how can I get somebody to sell for me or sell my product? That's a referral. Then when he goes, so then when he talks about the point number 5, when he talks about, like allowing them to giving them multiple areas in the business, right? That's actually when he goes into white labeling. Maybe one of your partners has a 5,000 square foot warehouse and maybe you need to do a little bit of distribution. And so that's where I look at number 5. And then number 6, obviously, make sure the customer wins. I say make sure everyone wins, because if the customer just wins and your supplier is not winning, and like Dean says, there's not anything left on the table for everyone else, eventually that partnership goes sour. So those are my kind of transition points for what he said into logistics. What do you have, buddy?
Yeah, of course. So first and foremost, when you kind of said there's everybody, I'm a big believer in that. Just because you're in logistics, you should be looking at other markets. For me personally, Dan, I'm a big person. I follow a lot of people in SaaS, software as a sales tool, and a lot of the stuff that they do, like sequencing and like a lot of their prospecting stuff, a lot of the ways that they book meetings. You should be looking from these different markets. Like if you're not, then
Oh, yeah.
you're doing yourself a disservice, because let's call a spade a spade. If you're just gonna watch only logistics people in our industry, you're kind of limited. Like, there's only a certain amount, like us, we're being one of them, Cowboy being one, D and stuff like that, but you're limited to kind of like the same voices, at least. When I kind of go into SaaS, it's just a bigger net. One thing that he said there was really important. He talks about the partnerships being really important, that everybody wins, which was a 6 point. But I think like when you were looking at the reseller port, I think that was like either 3 or 4. You look at affiliate marketing, and I think that is such a big deal within logistics, and people don't understand that you can be an affiliate marketer. At the end of the day, when you do something with a customer and you do something with a supplier, your word's going to go out there. Dan, you're talking about doing work with Boost Power Plant, doing machinery. You've literally put in the best people there to do the job. And I look at life as like a chessboard, in terms of that I don't have all the pieces, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the best pieces there, best forward. I always,
Yeah.
if there's one thing that I talk about a lot on the show and just in life, is that, hey, I might not be the best baker in Toronto, but I'll find you the best baker. And I think that's where that SME really comes down to. And I love the part that he's talking about white labeling. If you have like a maid service, like have people sell that for you. And it's really easy for people to do that. So if you're a logistics sales rep who's attaining the highest level of what they're doing, then people are naturally going to come to you, or they're going to naturally ask for you and be available. So I think when it comes down to partnerships, like you kind of said, you get that 5 to 10 suppliers, but just make sure your ops team or whoever you're working with, they're solid. Because at the end of the day, like you said, if you don't have freight, then you don't have freight, then nothing moves. Or if you go to them, you're like, hey, I have 5 loads for ABC company, and they said, hey, we already work with those guys, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. But you know what? You're gonna find that out regardless, anyways, because like you're not just gonna ask somebody, "Hey, are you working with this person?" and then you start a conversation with them, unless it's like a referral, I kind of think, Dan. Because all of us, we go fishing, right? And then whatever kind of hooks, then we bring that to our suppliers table, and then we have the conversation there. But then it's like you have that thought, like, well, if you guys are already running with you, you still have 5 to 10 other suppliers who probably not. So at the end of the day, you have that conversation with them. I thought it was a great thing. I think sales and marketing, they'll always be. It's kind of like ops and customer service. There's always some kind of like internal battle sometimes within every kind of company that there kind of is of what they need to do. But I think sales and marketing, they go hand in hand. They don't need to be or. If you want to be a great salesperson, you got to be a great marketer. If you want to be a great marketer, you got to be a great salesperson, right? So I think that is. I think it's awesome. Great video, my man.
Yeah, good. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I was, when we're choosing these, it's I go through quite a few. I don't know about you, but I go through quite a few, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, that has like one point that would make it. And then when I came across this one, and I was like, you know what, let's start branching out, right? Because it's like, we're the typical, Bob Proctor, Alex Hermosi, and we, start branching out, because, like you said, everybody in every market, that's going to change your life. And that's all it takes. It takes one idea.
Yeah.
Rene Godefroy said, you're one applied idea away from everything you've ever wanted in life.
Yeah.
One applied idea. And I don't think we pay enough attention to that, brother.
Yeah, I think here it's twofold with that. I believe that wholeheartedly, because I've seen that happen in my life. The people who don't believe in that is that it hasn't happened to them yet, or they haven't recognized it yet. Yes. Right. And for me, when you say a statement like that, Dan, like I've had cold calls turn into like big business. So people assume they correlate that together, but it's just not like that. When you're talking about getting your 5 to 10 suppliers, let's say you talk to 20 suppliers today and one of them say yes, that's a win of changing your life. You're on the trajectory. Well, sorry, you didn't change your life yet, Dan. You're on your way to that. You just took a step forward. Right. Yep. So I think with everything that we kind of says, and Jay Shetty's, like he said something in his Toronto show, was like, everything you ever want, Dan, is on the other side of discomfort. So you're gonna
Yes.
get whatever you kind of want to get in life, and I think it's awesome. And I love that you kind of mentioned like the Bob Proctors and the Alex Hormozy videos. It's funny enough, I do have a Hormozy video today, but the reason is because I watch a lot of videos, and just like you're saying, Dan, I bookmark them or like I save them, and then I go back to them and I replay them and see what's gonna be a fit. So let's play it today.
I
So I
have to
want
tell
to
you, Ryan, sorry to interrupt you, but I have to tell you, I'm on YouTube Premium now. Oh, you were
Welcome
right.
to the good life. Welcome to the good life.
Yeah,
See, that's the one
you were
subscription I
right.
won't change from. I will not.
Yeah.
I will. So my barber told me about YouTube Premium. I want to say in October, November, and I was like, well, who cares, man? These ads or whatever. And then it was like a free trial. I did it, and then I told my wife, there's no way. There's
Hmm.
no way. Like I would get rid of my. I got rid of my Netflix because I hate that whole password sharing stuff. I got rid of my Disney Plus. I got rid of, I think, Crave. I got rid of all the stuff that I really don't watch. Even Spotify, I got rid of that too. But YouTube Premium, that's like one of my only subscriptions I have for the month. So welcome to the good life, my friend. It's
Yeah,
investment.
and it's not even just the ads, it's being able to like download the video and being able to like it's all that stuff on the backside. YouTube Music, like
Played
on
in,
all
yeah.
your all the GOOGLE speakers that I have all over the house and in the backyard. And I don't want to say it because it'll start talking to me. But I got the mesh system out back, and it's like, okay, play this, play that, play this, play that. It all does it from the YT music,
Well, it's
and
awesome. I think it's awesome,
it's
Dan,
cool.
especially being able to play it like within your pocket. Like turned off with a
Yeah,
blank screen, right? And I think I play it a lot when I'm driving, so it's awesome to kind of say here.
yeah.
So
So you got
Dan,
playlists, so you like watch the music videos on your TV and stuff, and you can have playlists going. Anyways, yeah,
yeah,
let's get
that's
to
awesome.
Alex because he's
Yes,
he's an awesome teacher.
he's an awesome teacher. So I want to like Dan postface it, but I want to preface mine by saying that we talk about dedicated relationships this whole week. Everybody's not going to resonate with the everything that we're talking about. So I wanted to pick a video today that might resonate with somebody, and the ideal person is going to be someone who's either building out a sales team, or they're basically kind of just figuring out sales on their own to try to be that rock star. So he talks a little bit of like the daily habits of being a dedicated partner, and within a team itself. So let's play this bad
Mm.
boy, and let's see what's going on.
Sales, at least for a phone salesperson or a Zoom salesperson, is talking and the other half is listening. And so for half of the 60 minutes in the morning, they spend reading the script out loud with the correct tonality, and they read it 3 times through without messing up. If they mess up, they go to the top again. The second half, they go through a call from the day before from one of the guys, and they either pick about where they did well or they didn't do well, where they missed something or a tonality dropped and they didn't attack, or there was a belief pattern that they didn't confront and then blew up in the close, like things like that. We have 3 loops that we practice. One is about trusting me, one is about trusting the product, and the other about trusting the company. And so based on the obstacle they have, we always agree with them, be like, totally understand where you're coming from, and then we ignore it and loop all the way back around and ask again, right? And so it's really, in theory, you could have infinite loops, but you're usually constrained by time.
Perfect. And the reason why I want to play that is that as a logistics sales rep, all of us are going to be making cold calls. Like let's call a spade a spade. It's not fun. It's some people do like to make it. Even I still get the jitters. I know, Dan, you probably still get the jitters picking up that phone and making a sales call. But for me, what I've kind of realized in my career was exactly what he says, is that you can practice your tonality, you can practice the way that you script things, and you get people all the time saying, hey, we don't do scripts and do all those things. But if you're brand new, or even for me, I use a framework. If you don't want to call it a script, I use a framework on how I want to lead all my calls to kind of go to. And having that teamwork, and you and I have talked about this quite a bit, Dan, where I've kind of missed being in the office, having that bullpen of having the other sales reps around me,
Yeah.
motivating me, and just not with the sales reps only, like you talk about the marketing, the ops, the customer service, and things like that. Because I've been working from home prior to COVID. I'm not complaining by any means. It's just one part that if I was to compare what my life was and what it is now, it's definitely what I missed there. So when he's talking about, do they believe in me? Do they believe in the product? And do they believe in the company? Right, and then he forgets about it, and then he loops it again, and then makes all these infinite loops. And I think it's really important. Like, you got to believe in your product. That is the first partnership there. When you go and interview for a new place, you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you to see if it's going to be a fit. Then you look at the owners. You kind of look at, okay, well, what can I learn from them? Because again, you and I've always kind of said, like, hey, if you go to a new company, maybe shadow, be shadow, whether it be the top sales rep, or even if you can, like the owner or something like that, go grab lunch or something like that and be of value. And then the company itself, look around you. Right. So I know for myself, like I've like, we talk about the chess thing again, like I've set my life in the way that I do business, and I do business with people that I love, that I really like, that I get along with, you included. Nothing of my day is annoying or a chore for me to have to do it. So when it comes
Mhm.
back to what he's talking about, like sales calls and getting that dedicated partnerships with your customers, understand there's a framework, and then work on the things that don't work right, work on the things that do work, that do go wrong, but understand that there's a process to everything. And I think dedicated partnerships, so it doesn't happen overnight, and that's kind of like the point I kind of want to make. What was your kind of thoughts watching that live?
So for me, it's when I watched that, it's very interesting because the infinite loops. I look at them as confidence competence loops, and as we do more, we get more confident. But you are absolutely correct. Belief, was it Greg that said belief is irresistible?
Mm.
If you do not believe in what you're doing because you do not believe in the mission of the owner, the mission of your supervisor, you need to get out of that company, because you will be hindered like you would not believe. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, I could talk my way through it. No, you can't. You cannot talk your way through someone's intuition. And I'm sorry, and you might not think it hinders you, but it stops you dead in your tracks. When I did, like, there was a point in time in my career, I didn't believe in what I was doing. I was
Yeah.
like, how is somebody going to use me over somebody else that they have? Like, what do I have that? And it's a big question, because you're like, what do I have that nobody else has? What do I do with customers that make them stay with me? And the answer is easy. Ask them. If you don't have belief in what you are doing right now, ask your customers, why are you with me? Now, here's the thing. I've always said to my kids, don't ask the question unless you're ready for the answer.
Mm.
Okay? In life, don't ask a question unless you're ready for the answer. And I would suggest you ask the question and buckle in, because sometimes the answer is not what you think you should hear.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because their perception is reality.
Yeah.
Right? That's key in life. And so when we ask the question and they come back and say, well, you got the best rates. Okay. Well, that's not a partnership. You're
Mm.
selling price. And you might never realize you sold price, but you sold price. But that's a beautiful opportunity to create the loops that Alex was just talking about. Okay, now I can create a new loop. In sales, I mean, he's talking about in SaaS, which we have to translate it into logistics, right?
Yeah.
So obviously if a customer says, well, this is the problem right now, like, so perfect one that I'm dealing with right now more often than not is, I got a solid group of core carriers. I just don't have the freight to fill everyone's pocket.
Yeah.
So why would I bring a new person in? And you can't skip that. Oh, I totally understand that. So how about we get set up, right? Like, there's no way to skip that. So you have to address it. So that's that evolution of addressing it. I'm not talking about now, for sure. I totally understand that. But what happens when things turn?
Yeah.
What happens in a couple of months when your core carriers, because you don't have enough freight to fill everyone's trucks, with no ill thoughts towards you, they're going to have to retool.
Yep.
Because they just can't have equipment sitting around. And when they retool and your freight volume goes up and they don't have the capacity, that's where I'd love to fill in. So if this takes 3-4 months, I'd love to, then you loop back, right? Because this is what we do and all that. So I think it's fantastic. What he was talking about is sales and mindset 101,
Yeah.
as opposed to just like retracting back and going, okay, no problem. Maybe we can talk. And no.
Yeah.
Things are going to change. Things are going to be different in 3 months than they were now. Dean shared a great graphic on, you know what, I deleted. I should have kept it because we could have pulled it up. But the spikes in that August, September, October timeframe,
Mhm.
they're still there, Ryan. 2022 was the only year it wasn't there. And
Wow.
so things are going to shift. You've been in 7 years now, 7, 8 years now.
Six
You've been
years.
in six. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've seen one, in the 2018, 2019, I've seen so many roller coaster rides in freight
Yeah, yeah,
where it
yeah.
goes down to almost nothing and then it comes up and then it goes down.
You got
But
to.
this is just the cyclical industry we're in.
Yes.
And so it's going to come back up. I think there's very shallowed views right now in the market.
Yeah.
And as a sales rep, as a marketer, it's the projecting that picture of months from now. Like your work now, your sales now never equates to business now. It equates to business down the road.
That's what I
What
say
you
about the
did
Christmas
through,
stuff, man. The Christmas
yes,
stuff, man. The Christmas
exactly,
day,
Ryan.
the Christmas day.
Exactly.
It's everything you're saying there. And Dan, there's one thing you talked about, believing in your team and things like that. And I've heard from many reps myself. It's like, why would I want to get loads? Ops team is already they're gonna screw it up. And it's just like you got to find that right balance and understand that you've got to. I think, Dan, in my life, things changed when I took ownership for everything. Even
Yes.
if the truck is late, even if something happens, before to being like, oh, they and ops teams are amazing for that. The ops team that I work with right now, they're always like, hey, throw me under the bus. And I was like, no, we're never gonna do that. I'm gonna take ownership because this is what
Yeah.
I said we were gonna do, and it's always gonna come from me. So, when we're talking about, hey, I love exactly what you said. Anytime I talk to prospects and they're like, hey, I don't have enough to fill pockets, it's just like, well, based on and I like to lead with a story. Dan, I like to say, based on similar conversations I've had with prospects exactly like yours, they've said like these things the exact same things are going on, but they've seen some of their core carriers leave because they need to keep their their equipment going. So what is your contingency plans like for something like that? And then they'll be like, there's going to be two ways. Either they're going to be arrogant and be like, oh no, they're never going to leave us, or B, they were going to be like, I never thought about that. And that's when you get that thought-provoking thing. So I think it's really,
if
really
they're
cool.
arrogant, when you hang up, they're gonna go, huh,
Yeah.
because it always happens.
Ah,
Right?
but it's it's crazy you say that because there's so many times. I want to say my biggest customer right now, man. I've had, and this is a testament to everybody out there. I've probably had the worst discovery phone call ever with that customer, and now they're my biggest customer.
Yep.
So you just never know what's going to happen. And Dan, you're talking about like 2018, 2019, everything changes. Like, I tell this story to everybody. I was big into show freight. I was doing all these amazing shows. Like I was crushing it with that. And then COVID happened, right? So
Yeah.
you got to retool. And this is what keeps us young, right? We got to kind of keep doing.
You mentioned something there that is very important. You were big into show freight. You probably worked with suppliers that understood show freight.
Yep. Funny
in
enough,
order
a
to
lot
be
of them got into
successful
freight.
in that industry.
Funny enough, a lot of them got into freight. So they started hauling freight. And funny enough, we still have some of those partnerships, but they had
Yep.
to retool. So imagine those. Like I'm just a broker, kind of like arranging these shows, but these are the power only units. They have the specific equipment that we need for like shows like Taylor Swift or Bruno Mars, like traveling around. So they had to position. What are they going to do? Just leave their stuff there and let it sit and wait? We didn't know what the pandemic was going to look like. So I thought it was pretty cool just to kind of wrap things for me when it comes to like partnerships. I think the first video was awesome. I love the one takeaway for me will be like the reseller thing, being an affiliate marketer. You have your customers sell for you or your product sells for you. You don't have to do any manual labor. And then partnerships is where everybody wins. The customer, supplier, and yourself. It's got to be thing. And one thing I caught on your show with Bill was like you talked about the cost of invoicing. When it comes to like a sales rep and things like that. So just make sure that everybody's winning, not just a $50 margin load and only you win on that one. And then your company has to invoice you at the end of the month for that or something like that. Just make sure everybody wins. Everybody's happy. Everyone's going good. And I think with the second one here with Hermosi, I just love Hermosi. Hermosi is one of my favorite people out there. And I think he just gives some good talents. And what he sells gym memberships. That was Gym Launch was his big company and selling memberships. And that's how we kind of trained it. But he just has that higher level thinking. $100 million offers, I think, is his book. And it's been a great read. I think it's only like 200, 300 pages. Recommended to everybody. But Daniel, let's hear your takeaways before we close up this bad boy.
So definitely, I mean, I'm going to go with a few different. Your takeaways are gold, but I don't want to reiterate your takeaways. I think the biggest one, beyond the ones that you just talked about, was what partnerships work best for you right now in your business. Like really go through your entire business from A to Z with a fine-tooth comb and look at it. And maybe you need to create a partnership with yourself and say, I need to work harder. I can't have these partnerships until I dedicate myself to doing something. So then what I suggest you do, if that's the case, is you find an accountability partner, that you create a new partnership with accountability, somebody that holds you accountable. I love the white labeling referrals. I think if you've moved more than 10 loads for a customer and you don't have a reference letter, you're really missing out on a wicked sales tool. And obviously, Hermosi, find that loop that works for you. When a prospect says something, go to our website, saleschatterlive.com, download the tool that we have there, the progression tool, and use it. That's a tool. That's one of the best tools on the market. And it's so simple. It's so simple. And just, shorthand what the customer said. And how did you respond? And how can you respond better on the next call? That's evolution. That's how you're going to raise your game. With partnerships, what did you choose in this partnership? How did it go? How can you make it better? It's always a juxtaposition in everything we do. And as you go through, Ryan and I are going through juxtapositions. Just yesterday, we had a phone call where it's like, wow, that's a juxtaposition. We got to go through. So this is an ever evolving. It never stops. Never stops. When you stop, you die. And I mean that not in a physical way, but when you stop, our business is so fast. If you stop evolving, you actually become irrelevant in the business very quick. Yeah. And I'm sure some of you have seen it when you have colleagues that get promoted to manager and they don't keep up with the day-to-day business, what's happening on the ground, they very quickly become irrelevant. And that's where conflicts start. I can tell you with me, that's where most of my conflicts have always started. When I looked at my superiors as saying, okay, you're out of touch with what's really happening. So the advice you're giving me is 6 years old. It's not going to work in today's market. And then, these things. And it's not ego. It's no ego here. It's just the fact that we're in an ever evolving market. And if we don't help our partnerships evolve, we grow apart. And don't let your partnerships grow apart, because as Ryan always says, lift as you climb. Lift as you climb. And that's true in every single partnership, brother.
It is. And I think partnerships are, you treat your suppliers, like we've always said this, you treat your suppliers better than your own customers. But, it's not a point to treat your customers bad, but, you want to kind of give that attention and things like that, because they're going to be able to grow with you. So this is Sales Chatter Live, the logistics podcast where we aim to help 10,000 sales reps generate $1 million in GP in 12 months. I took that away from you yesterday instead of my normal spiel, Dan. So it kind of gives a little bit of clarity on our mission. But, we're going to hit it at live again at 11 a.m. Today, as we're kind of hitting up what we're talking about. And I think it's really important that we kind of let everybody know.
You just gave away that this is pre-recorded.
Yeah, I know.
We had them hooked from the beginning, brother. We had them hooked from the
beginning. If you're still watching, thank you so much, right? And, we're going to basically have everything on, and just make sure everybody, we have so many resources. Like Dan says on our website that we have the link going down there, but do know that you don't always have to catch this video episode. You can catch us on Spotify, on all the amazing TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio. You can actually go and download our episodes on these amazing websites and listen to them later. So when you're going for a walk, when you're going to cut your grass, you can be listening to Sales Strategy, because like Dan always says, he went to the school, the car
Automobile University, buddy.
There we
Automobile University.
So you know what? I think it's awesome that we can do that, because as we kind of said, we're a little bit international here. We were streamed in 7 different continents, and we're just trying to push that message.
Not a little bit, brother. Not a little bit.
We're there.
6 continents, 77 different countries and territories.
So there we go. So tomorrow's going to be Fun Day Friday as we kind of look for them. Dano, take us home, because everybody wants to know how they can get a hold of us.
Oh, go to our website, get a hold of us there, get a hold of us, Ryan and I, on LinkedIn, send a message to the Sales Chatter page, get a hold of us on YouTube. If y'all haven't gone to YouTube and subscribed, get over there and subscribe, because the tool's right there, scan button. You don't even have to go anywhere. All you literally got to do is pull out your phone right now and take a picture of that, and it'll send you right to hit the subscribe button, ding, 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 get notified. And for every episode of Sales Chatter, because I'll tell you, we got some serious themes and guests coming up in the next couple of weeks that is going to blow your mind.
Take care, everybody.